Hey everybody, Mighty Man Handyman here, and I'm at my house today here in Grand Junction. It's another beautiful day, of course, always in Grand Junction. Actually, it's a little cloudy, but it's okay. Anyways, it's better than a lot of places. So, we are here today with Dan, and he is the chimney doctor here in Grand Junction, Colorado. And so we're going to be talking to him about, well, chimneys. So, and everything else that goes with it. So tell us a little bit about yourself really quick.
Thanks for having me out. Chimneys it's nothing I ever thought I'd do, that's for sure. Nobody, I think, ever grows up thinking I'm going to be a chimney sweep. That's not something that ever crossed my mind. I didn't know people did it. And moved out here to get married and met my wife, and she lived here. And so I came out here knowing I could find work and stumbled into an apprenticeship, I guess you'd say, with a 30-plus year master chimney sweep. And after working with him for about 3 years, an opportunity came up to buy out one of the competitors from up in Rifle, and so I talked to them and figured some things out, and we kind of parted ways at that point. And so for the last 3 years, we've just kind of been nonstop pursuing education and trying to learn as much as we can, not only about how to clean chimneys, but how to inspect them and make sure that they're actually safe to be burned. And it's been, I don't know, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you do more than chimneys,
Yeah, so we do chimneys, we clean, we inspect, repair, service, sweep, install, and replace wood, pellet, and gas appliances. I guess not so much, we clean furnace and boilers, but we don't replace them, but we do a lot with, fireplaces, stoves, inserts, and everything we do is based on inspections to make sure they're safe, and if not, how to make them safe, and then how to make them better and make them last longer and burn better and make people, allow them to keep their homes safe and their families warm. So
yeah. Now something I learned here a couple weeks ago. I did a fireplace, and they converted it and put a pellet stove in there. We had to pull the pellet stove out to put the new tile around the fireplace. And when I did that, I noticed there was this little cup down at the bottom, and it's full of ash. So pellet stoves have to be serviced too, don't they?
Yeah, pellet stoves need to be serviced, and usually, so a pellet stove is a little more involved, and I guess you'd say to some extent a wood or a gas. Wood stoves, you need to clean every couple cords of wood that you burn. So if you burn 4 or 5 cords, it should probably be cleaned 2 or 3 times a year. Whereas pellet stove, it'll have specific instructions in the manuals for weekly and monthly cleanings, and then once a year, a professional like us and someone who's certified should be brought in to do a full in-depth cleaning that gets into all the back channels that all those other cleanings don't quite reach.
The light went off.
That's okay.
Okay, so there you go, guys. I did not know pellet stoves actually had to be serviced, and I actually figured that out when I pulled that one out. And I said, hey, did you know there's a little catch thing here with all this ash in it? And I sucked it out with the vacuum for him, and I said, you probably should get this looked at and see if it needs more cleaning. I just cleaned out that spot.
And if people are looking at getting a pellet stove or a pellet insert, they're different. They're a whole different animal. It's like apples to oranges with wood burning or gas or pellet. Pellet's a lot more like an appliance. It's something that is going to need service. It has blowers and motors. Parts are going to break. So wherever you buy it, it's a good idea to buy it with a dealer that you know will help you when it needs service and come out and do it, or at least walk you through how to do some of it on your own if you want to save some money. But that's important. So.
Yeah, there you go. Pellet stoves I've noticed more and more of them being used around everywhere anymore. It seems like they're becoming way more popular than everything else. And I always looked at them and thought, hey, these things are just simple, no fuss, dump in your pellets and it's done. But I guess not. So there you go, guys. So now, let's talk about actual wood burning chimneys, because there's quite a few in the valley, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I'd say by far the thing we work on the most is we inspect wood burning chimneys for safety or for installing an insert or upgrading them or refacing them, doing things like that.
Yeah. So you reface them too, huh?
We can, yeah. One of our guys, he was a mason for 20 years and retired from doing that. He was just getting beat up, and he started working with us, and now that he's in the office, now he's like, oh, can we reface? I'll go help. So he's excited to get back out there, sometimes if need be, but he's busy, so we refer a lot of work out too.
But there you go. So now what are some of the signs that your chimney may need you to come out and look at it?
So if you have a wood-burning fireplace and you're burning it, and the easiest thing to do is if you start to notice that when you light your fires, it doesn't draw as well as it used to, and it's smoking back into the house, or it just takes it a little longer to kind of feel like it's working right. If you're smelling smoke, that's usually a sign that something in your system isn't working right. Whether Your chimney is just due to the way your house is situated. Your chimney, if like say you have a furnace and a dryer and a bathroom fan and a kitchen exhaust fan that are all sucking air out of your house, and you have just had your house re-stuccoed so it's sealed and insulated really good, what can happen is if there's not enough makeup air in the house or air coming into your house, those appliances can actually overpower your chimney and pull cold air into your house just like an air intake. And so, you know, if you are, if you experience that where you get in front of your chimney and you're like, man, there's just cold air coming down, it may be okay depending on the way it's set up, and it may be a downdraft that's caused by your house, and so you go to light a fire and it smokes up your house and you hate your fireplace. There are ways that we can fix that.
I never thought about the stucco situation where you seal the house up tighter and you turn your chimney into a draft. I never thought about that. So, yeah, so there's something, guys. And lots of people are getting their houses stuccoed all the time around here. So, and lots of houses with fireplaces. That changes the makeup of the house, really.
It changes it dramatically. And we've had to get real good at explaining that, because if they hire us to come out and fix their chimney and we clean it and inspect it and here are these problems that we can work on addressing, but it still doesn't work right. A lot of times a chimney working properly doesn't necessarily have to do with it being clean. It has to do with other issues like the height, or if you have this big masonry structure on the north side of the home, or I guess this way, on the north side of the home where it doesn't get any sun, and so your chimney stays ice cold all day. It never warms up, and so it's really hard to start, and you got to fight with it all the time. You know, another thing I'd say to look for is if you look in your fireplace and on the back of your fireplace, or if you ever, when it's not working, when you reach in to close the damper, look up in there with a light and you see, you know, fluffy stuff hanging off the edges, or even worse, if you see a shiny black glaze in there, that is creosote, and creosote is highly combustible, and it, you know, that's where chimney fires come from. And creosote starts at the bottom and works its way up to the top of the chimney. And so if you can see it at the top, when you get up on your roof and you're doing swamp coolers or leaves or doing anything, and you see black creosote at the top, it means it will be all the way up into there.
It's way past time for a cleaning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, speaking of that, while they're on top of the roof, if they're doing some swamp cooler stuff, is there any visual things that you should look at? I know I've been on a couple roofs and I've looked at chimneys, and that concrete cap is cracked in a couple places. I mean, is that something they should start worrying about?
That's definitely something to keep in mind. So bricks, when they're waterproofed, are pretty impervious to water, moisture getting inside of them. But really, you want to think of bricks like it's a giant stack of sponges, and bricks they absorb moisture. And so if you have a cracked crown, or your mortar joints are washing away, or you know, you even have bricks that look like they've kind of exploded off a little bit, or they're cracked themselves, that's a sign that water has gotten in there. It's been long enough without waterproofing that they're getting damaged. And you can actually have water. We've had chimneys in basements where the basement has flooded around the fireplace, and when you get up on top, it's not that the flashing's bad or anything else, it's that the brick is so packed with moisture that it has just seeped through and started to leak out of the bottom of it.
Well, that's a serious problem there.
And you don't think about that,
yeah.
But to fix it, you know, you come in and we can redo mortar joints and either do a new concrete crown. A lot of times we can do a big, I guess you'd say a big chase cover, a big cap that covers the whole crown and the chimney, and it keeps all moisture off the whole top of the chimney. And then once you waterproof it and redo the flashing, you've really eliminated a lot of the major damage that comes, because you start getting water damage, and you got to re-sheet rock and you got to re-roof, and you get into some pretty major repairs at that point.
So brick chimney, once it's built, isn't just done. It needs maintenance too, just like the rest of the house. So.
Yeah, we a lot of the chimneys we look at here, especially in the downtown parts of Grand Junction, they haven't been looked at in 30 years. You know, Jeff, and
yeah.
When you haven't had them looked at in 30 years, and my guys always feel bad when they got to tell people, hey, there's some stuff that needs to be worked on. But our whole goal is just to be honest and let you know the state of your chimney, where it's at, and you know, if we don't fix it, who can? And then what can be done to keep your home good.
Yeah, I was on a roof last year, and I think it was a swamp cooler and some other stuff. I was looking at some missing shingles, and I just happened to look up the chimney, and I walked over there, and literally that, you know, concrete cap, I literally just stuck my finger and it went, pfft. It was just dust. It was literally just lime dust that just swept away, and I was like, I took a picture of it, took it down there, and said, guys, that's bad. You're just letting water pour into your house. There's nothing there to protect you. So they got that fixed. But, yeah, so there's things to mention. So we've done, let's see, pellet stoves and chimneys. What else?
Can I say one more? But you made me think of something there with that. If you're ever up on your roof and you look down in your chimney and you notice that there's no clay flue tiles, that there is just
brick.
There's just brick, and you look down there and you think, oh, it's just one layer of brick. If there's ever a chimney fire in there from creosote or anything else, it's only separated from usually framing in your attic, which won't meet its clearance. It's supposed to be 2 inches away. And it'll be separated from it by 1 4-inch layer of brick. And if you haven't had a cap and you've had water running down the inside of that, we've gotten in attics where I can see from the attic through into the chimney where I can see the creosote. And so if they ever had a fire, it can come up and jet right through those cracks in the mortar into the attic. Whoosh. And the house is gone. And fire departments a lot of times say, oh, it was accidental, it was a chimney fire. And really, it's just a result of not having your chimney repaired and inspected regularly.
And just old design chimney. Design chimneys, lots of. Now you can fix that. You can put a liner in those usually.
So to put liners in, most chimneys we can reline. There are some systems that we can fix most things. A problem we commonly run into is when they're forming up a fireplace, they'll put wood under the hearth, set the brick on top of it, and they'll even frame under the fireplace with the floor joists and set the fireplace, and the fireplace will overheat it and cook it. And so speaking of a liner, well, as long as there's 4 inches of solid masonry, we can run an insulated stainless steel liner down there and hook it up, and there's some ways we can rip out and remove fireboxes and fireplaces, the part you see. If they have wood under them, we can pull those out and actually replace that with something that's listed to sit on top of.
Or steel, something that, So there's ways to make old chimneys usable and safe again. So if you got a chimney and you're like, I don't know if I want to use this, call them out for inspection.
Well, and I'd highly recommend it if you guys have chimneys that you haven't had inspected, or you've bought a house, or if you're going to buy a house, pay to have the house inspected properly and have a thorough, in our industry they call it a level 2 inspection, because if you go and you have a home inspector come out, and our plan this spring is to hopefully do a course for home inspectors for things that they do, because legally home inspectors are required to, there's a small list of things they have to check with the fireplace. They check and make sure the damper operates, there's no blockages, and that there's a cap on top. As far as was it built properly, does it meet clearances, they might tell you it needs cleaning, but are the flue tiles cracked? Is there holes in the attic? Things like that they're not necessarily required to say, or no.
So they don't know the standard that is required for a chimney to actually properly function, I guess is what it is.
And I have nothing against home inspectors. I think they do a great job, but like my home inspector when I bought my house, he was a roofer. And so he caught a ton of stuff with my roof that I didn't even know about. I mean, we go to hundreds of hours of education every year just on chimneys. And when you buy a house and you want it looked at, please get it inspected, because there's my least favorite conversations are ones with an excited new homeowner 4 or 5 months in the house, and we look at it and we're like, well, we got to replace it. And there's rare occasions when we can't fix them because of they've just ran wood right through the middle of the chimney, and you open it up and you're like, we can't fix this, and we got to replace it. But usually there's a way to fix it and make it safe.
That's awesome. That's good to know. So now you do gas fireplaces too. So what do you do on those?
So on gas service, I think gas is kind of taken over. They're a little stricter on wood and pollutants in the air here, and so gas is taken over heavily. We end up installing quite a bit, but really where we end up repairing a lot, and then also just doing a lot of standard services on them. So normally, if somebody calls with a gas appliance, we would come out, and on the first service, we'd go through the whole thing. I mean, we'll take the glass off, take all the logs out, all the embers, and the rock in there. We'll usually take the burners off and blow everything out. We'll blow through the air channels of it, and if it needs touch-up paint, we'll touch it up. Our goal is to go through everything we can and make it run and operate like as new as possible. And a lot of times we get comments, wow, I didn't know it was that dirty. Or I haven't had that cleaned in 20 years. It's never looked like that. And that's what we want is homeowners that like to see their fireplace. They like to run it. And then, with that, we'll get up in the attic and make sure that it meets its clearances to insulation. I'd say gas fireplaces are their number one problem as far as being installed improperly is that they'll get installed and it won't even be the guy who installed the fireplace's fault.
Insulation guy.
The insulation guys will come along, and the framers who framed it, there's supposed to be a what we call a fire stop, and it's a piece of wood and then a piece of metal around the pipe to keep clearance that keeps all insulation from falling down inside your wall, essentially on top of your unit. And we'll get up in the attic and crawl over there, and it's a wide open hole, and we found fireplaces that are buried in combustible insulation. Yeah. And it's only a matter of time at that point. And so we'll actually go over and crawl down in there behind the wall and pull it all out and reconstruct it.
And I know, I get up in attics all the time. That's no fun if you have to pull the insulation back out. It's easy to put it in. Taking it back out, it's a pain in the neck. Yeah. So that's something you guys want to watch. If you're having a house built, that's something now you know. So, clearances, guys. It's all about clearances. So, this fireplace right here, that's in a box mounted on the outside of the house, completely separated from the rest of the house. So it's its own little encapsulation, runs all the way up, empties out the top. So
I figured that looking at it, and sometimes that's one of the safer ways to do it because you can totally isolate it from the house.
Yeah.
And fire stops, the reason they're there and they're with any chimney as it comes up through a house, a fire stop is I guess you'd say it's a fail-safe to some extent, where if your fireplace malfunctions and lights something on fire in the wall, it buys you 15 minutes to see the paint melt and see something happen. Whereas if there's no fire stop in there, and something behind your wall light's on fire, it burns straight up and into your attic, and your house burns from the top down. And so usually at that point, people don't know it's on fire till their ceiling starts falling in or a neighbor knocks on their door. And that's, so when we see those, we're very conscious about making sure you got to get this fixed.
Yeah, now everybody on the outdoors are going, oh, no way. That actually happened in my dad's house. So he had a wood burner in there, and then we put an addition onto the house, and he had ran ductwork up over the attic and into the new addition. And basically what happened was the electricity went out, so the blower wasn't blowing on the furnace anymore. But he was still using the wood, and the heat was raising up into that one pipe and getting trapped up in there, and it got super hot to the point that it was laying on top of the ceiling joists, and it actually ignited the ceiling joists. And it started burning those before they ever noticed. They were smelling some smoke, and they're like, it's just the fireplace. It finally got to where it was burning in the attic. So it didn't burn the whole house down, but it caused quite a bit of damage. So guys, when we talk about that, that's a real deal. It can happen. I've actually seen it.
And Jeff, that brings up a great point that I think it's at the heart of everything we do as chimney inspectors, and we look at is there's a process they call pyrolysis, and you can look it up, and there's a lot out there on it. But pyrolysis is it's a chemical change in wood or any combustible material when it's heated above 200 degrees. Now, as you know, wood is not going to ignite at 200 degrees. It might burn a little bit, things might happen, but what happens is due to the chemical change, wood's ignition point with continued exposure to temperatures at 200 degrees or higher, the ignition point drops, and it can actually drop as low as 200 degrees, and when those two meet, it just spontaneously ignites on the other side of whatever it's on. And so when we look at a house, and people tell us all the time, well, my stove's been here for 25 years, and so you say it's too close to the wall, but it's been here for 25 years. And we always tell them the problem is pyrolysis, and I can't tell you how far along it is in that process, and it may never ignite. But all I know is based on the measurements and the tests they've done, they tested the stove to have 14 inches of clearance. It's at 9 inches, and in the testing, they proved that it gets hot enough to cause pyrolysis.
Somewhere down the road.
And if you keep burning it somewhere down the road, it'll just happen. And I can't in good conscience not say anything to you and let you just keep going. And everybody can keep burning what they want. It's America. It's a free country. I can't red tag your appliance.
Yeah. I didn't know that. Actually, that's something I just learned. I know, there's clearances, and if I do something, I always try to meet clearances, but I didn't know stuff would change over time. Continued exposure would actually cause it to change to where it would ignite like that. That's something new I learned. So there you go, guys. I learned something new today too. So okay. Let's see what else do you cover? We've got the gas, we got the pellet, we've got regular chimneys. I got a question for you, and this is something I've seen a lot around here in town. There's a lot of houses here that don't have chimney caps. Why is that? Just don't get enough rain here, so they don't think it's needed, or what's the story with that?
Well, I think a lot of times they just haven't had them for years. They were built without chimney caps. There hasn't been one for years. And so they just don't have them up there. And unless they buy the house and the home inspector says, hey, you need a screen up there or something up there, people don't think about it. And if they're not using it, they really don't think about it, and it just continues to deteriorate. Caps are important.
Well, I came from Missouri.
But it rains a lot in Missouri.
It rains a lot. If you don't have a cap, you'll have water pouring out of your fireplace. And even with the cap, sometimes the rain comes in sideways, you still have it coming out of your chimney. So, yeah.
An important consideration with caps on chimneys, and I'll clarify this kind of two ways. One, caps are important because when rain, especially if you have creosote, when rain mixes with creosote, it forms a very acidic concentration, and it'll actually eat away at mortar and brick and everything that's in your chimney. And so the more water you get in your chimney, the faster it deteriorates over time. And then the more chance there's bigger problems we have to address when it's looked at properly. On the other hand, when people call and say, hey, we want to get a chimney cap based on the standards in our industry, if we go and look at a chimney to just install a cap, we're required to do a certain level of inspection. Yeah. And from that inspection, we usually have either, hey, we can put a cap on and no problem, and your chimney's up to code and everything's good, or we have, well, there's some issues, and if you really want to put a cap on, putting a cap, just a normal cap, won't address your issues, but if we address your issues, we can do a cap with it and know that you'll be safe at the same time.
Cool. So we're getting towards the end of the burning season, really, but what's a good time to start inspecting your chimneys? I mean, anytime's a good time, but...
Yeah, if it hasn't been inspected in the last year or since before last burn season, I'd highly recommend doing it now, because the longer you go without inspecting a chimney, the more chance there is that everything has added up. It's actually the worst time for chimney fires is actually usually the first fire people light, and the two worst days of the year are Thanksgiving and Christmas, because people who don't light their fires. They have all their family there, they get a good big fire going, and it lights the creosote in the smoke chamber, which takes off through the chimney and scares everybody to death. If you haven't had it done, please get it done. Yeah. If you're doing it regularly, we highly recommend it. One, if your chimney does anything weird, if it's behaving oddly, call and get it looked at.
And don't use it.
Don't use it. Stop using it. Call and get it looked at. But on our end, depending on how busy we get in the winter, we can be booked out 3 weeks to 6 weeks, and sometimes a couple months. Yeah. And so we highly recommend people call starting about May, when you're really starting to think, oh yeah, I got to get the garden ready and get out and get the yard set up and get things going there. It's a great time to do your chimney, because when we inspect it or clean it, we're not dealing with downdrafts from cold weather. Everything updrafts nicely. There's not snow on roofs, especially if you have tall chimneys. And it's a chance to look at it and inspect it, and then if there's issues, we can repair it during the summer when we have a little more time and better weather to fix it properly. Because there are some repairs we actually can't do in the winter.
It's cold. Well, you can't mix mortar in winter time because you can't freeze.
Yeah, it doesn't work. There's a lot of things when we find them wrong in the winter, sometimes people say, well, I just won't use it till spring, and please come fix it then. Yeah. Because I can't do anything else.
So spring's the best time to actually get your fireplace inspected. I would have thought fall. So there you go, guys. So, and actually that makes perfectly good sense. Get it done springtime. So here in the next 3 months, guys, start calling it in, get your inspections ready, and you'll be good to go for next winter. Yeah. And do you suggest doing a little pre-inspection before wintertime though? Or if you've done it in May, it's good to go?
If you've done it in May and there's a cap up top so animals and things can't get in there, you should normally be good to go unless something weird is going on, or you're like, I hear some growling behind my damper. Then maybe you ought to have we've pulled out raccoons and snakes and birds.
That's not fun.
It's not fun when they're live, but it's also not fun when they're dead. So if you hear something in there, give someone a call and let them get it out.
Get it before it starts stinking. Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
We have a couple questions.
Okay, yeah, shoot.
Okay, Kathleen would like to know, she says, I have a gas dryer that vents under my house, quite a distance to the outside. Do you clean the vent system on dryers?
Yes, so we do a lot with dryers. We're certified by the Chimney Safety Institute of America for not only chimneys, but also for dryer vents as well. And dryers that go down into the house and then out, the key is that you never want a dryer to vent into a crawl space or into an attic. We repair them all the time, and we'll get down there and the whole crawl space will be filled with lint. It's been venting down there for 20 years, and it's a huge fire hazard that we have to remove and pull stuff out of.
I've been a few of those. Yeah, I can test that.
And we have, so there's without naming names, there's a big apartment complex we're working on right now that has 400 plus units, and every single one of those, all of their attics are full of insulation, or full of dryer vent lint, because they weren't properly terminated. And so they just filled the attics, and so we're in the process of ripping all those out and replacing them. But cleaning them, for homeowners, to give you an idea on recommendations for dryer vents are a little different. In a residential setting, they should probably be inspected and cleaned every 2 to 3 years. And we do have actually technologies infiltrating everything we do. And so one of the suppliers we deal a lot with, they actually have they call it a lint alert, and you can look them up online. And what it is it's a little device that plugs into your outlet near your dryer. And there's a tube that runs down, and it measures the back pressure or resistance through your venting. And so as the buildup increases, the back pressure increases, and a little red light will turn on when you need to get it cleaned. And so it kind of takes out do I need to get it cleaned or not? And and it, there's possibilities where it'll send you a reminder, hey, it's time to get that cleaned when it does.
Do you have that on your webpage?
We do.
Okay, so we're going to share, if you go to our webpage, we're going to share a link to his webpage, right? Is that what we're going to do?
On Monday, yes.
Come Monday, yeah. So it'll be over the week, not this weekend, guys, Monday. But we'll share a link to his page. So if you're interested in one of those, you click on my page, you can find his page, and then look it up from there. And then you're on Facebook as well.
On Facebook and website and Google. If you search the Chimney Doctor, you'll find us. We'll pull up. But
but we'll also share the link on our page, and we'll have a link probably on Facebook. I don't know how you do that, but
yeah, we'll have links on most everything.
Okay, there you go, guys. So we'll have those links if you're looking for that. There we go. So, was there another question?
Yes. Somebody wants to know, who is the best masonry person for doing a fireplace in Grand Junction? Or persons?
And that depends, because on the type of repair maybe that's being done. So masonry,
for a new fireplace.
New fireplace.
So there's a lot of regulations in Grand Junction with new fireplaces, and you actually they will not give you a permit to build a normal brick fireplace anymore because they're not efficient enough. Anything wood burning has to be EPA approved, which currently it has to be 4.4 grams per hour or under. And May 20th, it's still slated that it's going to come in with the new regs, and all the EPA approved means it has to be under 2.0 grams. So it's cutting it in half.
No, explain the grams, what you're talking about. Is that
It's particulates in the air that comes out. And I couldn't tell you exactly how they measure the grams, but it's how many particulates are in the air that comes out of your exhaust pipe.
So sort of like measuring emission test on your car kind of thing. Same thing on the fireplace now.
And that's nice. So all the EPA systems that are approved for installation in like the Grand Junction area, and sometimes if you get out in the county, they're not as worried about that, and things can be built like that. And I don't have a particular recommendation if you're out there for anybody that I know of particularly. We do have there's some modular masonry fireplace systems that we can build and set up, and then any mason can come and kind of brick around it. We do have a mason that we have used quite a bit, and if anybody wants, they can send you a message or send us a message, and who does really beautiful work on fireplace fronts and things.
So the days of the old traditional brick floor and yellow brick backed fireplace are kind of gone, huh?
To some extent. I mean, if your house has one, we can fix it and make it more efficient, make it safer. But if you're putting a new one into new construction, generally you'll go with a factory built
insert, basically, kind of
a factory built fireplace that sits in the wall, kind of like a gas fireplace, but it's built for wood.
As brick lined, kind of, or is it?
And it'll have a firebox with brick lining in it. And, and some of those look a lot like a fireplaces, but they will have doors on them usually. And so then they'll run like a wood stove to some extent, but you can actually run heat vents to reclaim heat from your fireplace behind your wall and up across your attic and dump heat into parts of your house.
Okay, awesome. That's cool to know.
So great question, though.
Yeah. So the rules are changing, and like Telluride, you can't. Is it Telluride that you can't have fireplaces at all now, really, unless you buy one?
Unless you buy one.
We were up there, so Telluride only there's 100 permits in the city, and that's it for fireplaces. And so if you want a fireplace, you buy a permit and you have to either demolish the whole chimney. Some people have actually bought a chimney permit with the chimney. They'll demolish it and rebuild it at their new house.
So they take down an old chimney and build a new one out of the old one, kind of.
Or they'll do a whole new one. But so there's only 100. And I know when last time we were up there doing work up there, one of the guys had done work on Oprah's house up there because she has a house up there.
Yeah.
And she has 10 of the 100 fireplace permits.
Oh my
Wow. They're all 100,000 plus to buy. And so if you want one in Telluride,
plan on spending.
Let's hope Grand Junction never gets to that point, guys. Wow, that's crazy.
But on the other side, by comparison, like Snowmass Village, they still allow everybody to have one fireplace, and it doesn't have to be EPA approved. They don't care. And so we have some bids out now to put some in up there that aren't approved, and their ones Junction wouldn't even let put in. But Snowmass Village is like, oh yeah, one per household.
That's just up the mountain, isn't it?
No problem.
Yeah, it's just up the mountain, kind of from Telluride, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's up from Aspen.
Oh, okay,
Up
up from Aspen a little bit. Okay, yeah. So every rules are a little bit different around the area. You check with your local codes before you do anything, I guess. Really.
Yes,
call a chimney guy that knows. So yeah. So all right. Is there another question on there?
No, that is it. Will you tell us how people can get a hold of you, though? Your number and...
Yes, can I tell you one other thing, too? I forgot to mention. I was just thinking about. Another thing to have looked at is if you have a furnace or a boiler or a water heater even that vents into a masonry chimney. It's actually a very common thing we do is reline those, because what happens is especially if you have a chimney that was used for coal or wood, all the soot and creosote on the walls, when the condensate from your furnaces, the product that's in it, when it condenses inside your flue, it's a water vapor basically, and when it mixes, it actually will eat away clay flue tiles, eat away brick lining. And so we'll get into those and find that the clay tiles are all broken when we do a video inspection, and that there's actually gaps into the chimney that lead into the home. And so if it were ever plugged up top, it would actually pump carbon monoxide into the house.
And that's real common with older houses.
Yes, especially if you have old houses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like downtown Grand Junction area would be a really key area where that would happen a lot.
Extremely. So we'd highly recommend if you have furnaces or boilers that are in a masonry system. And yeah, I mean that's that. And
Okay.
as far as getting hold of us, you want to say first?
Somebody's wanting to call you. Yeah. So you do brick chimneys, you do gas, you do pellet, you do dryer vent work, and is there anything else that we didn't cover? That covers the big basics.
That
I think
covers all the basics.
Yeah. All right. Well, awesome. So, like she was asking, how does people get a hold of you?
If you'd like to get a hold of us, we're the Chimney Doctor. You can find us online. If you do a search, our phone number is 970-234-3330. Again, 970-234-3330. Or just type chimney.doctor spelled out in the search bar. There's no .com or .net, just chimney.doctor, and we'd be happy to take a look at what you have and just give you our honest opinion and help you make the right choice for your family.
There you go, guys. So there's that. And like I said, if you go to mightymanhandyman.com this Monday coming up, we will have a link to his site as well. And same on the Facebook page, and you can get a hold of him that way too. And so, yeah. So, guys, if you got chimneys, I highly, suggest calling and getting inspected. Come May, especially, yeah. And if I'm ever on your roof, guys, and I'm up there like doing your swamp color, doing some shingles, I always walk over. I just look at your chimney, and if I see cracks or anything like that just to me go, I'll take a picture. I'll show it to you, and I'll say, hey, you might get this inspected sooner than later, and so I'll refer you to him from now on. To come out and get it looked at. So, but yeah, I always do that. If I'm on your roof for anything, I will go over and look at your chimney. I'll walk around your roof, look at your shingles too. So I look at everything while I'm up there, because most homeowners hardly ever get on the roofs. So if I'm on your roof for anything, it's a free inspection for me. I'll walk around, and if I see any red flags, I'll let you know. So.
And you can call
the Chimney Doctor. Mm-hmm, that's right.
Well, Jeff, thanks for having me out.
It was a pleasure having you out here. I learned some new stuff today, so that's great. I'm always glad to learn new things. I always want to, educate myself too. So it's been a fun interview with you, and we hope to see you around. So actually, I see him around all the time. I see his trucks everywhere. But so guys, how many trucks do you have running?
We got 2 to 3 trucks that are out, and we go to Moab and up to Aspen and Telluride, and we're kind of we go all over the place, so we're
So
pretty busy.
you covered a pretty good 100-mile radius maybe from here.
Yeah,
at least?
probably.
Yeah,
You
so
know?
there. That's good to know. I was like, how far does he go? Yeah, so 100-mile radius, guys. There you
So
go.
call early.
And
So
we like staying in town, though. So
Yeah, but if you're in Moab and you're watching this, he might come out there. So that's a long drive, though. But there you go, guys. So, hey, we'll talk to y'all later. Have a great weekend, everybody. We're going to go get some food here, I think, in a little bit and have a wonderful weekend. And we hope you do, too. Talk to y'all later. Bye.
great day.